friend, I am feeling excited about life again. And what is more fun than a slinky to show this excitement for life? Okay, but really, this is so much fun. I have gotten really excited about my life again and have been putting things into my life that I am looking forward to, and I've been really emphasizing fun. And I really want to share how I got to this place and how I am really reclaiming joy, because this has not come easy for me. And I can honestly say that the last few months have been really difficult, and I have been in a really challenging place of experiencing pretty intense existential fear and anxiety. And quite honestly, I don't think that I am alone in that. So I want to share a little bit more about my experience in moving from being in a place of fear and anxiety towards reclaiming joy and getting excited about life again.
Content warning: in this video, I discuss the COVID-19 pandemic, mortality, and the subject of life and death. If you are sensitive to these themes or are triggered by them, please take care.
First off, I want to address the elephant in the room, which is that the pandemic freaking sucked. That was probably some of the worst years I think that any of us will ever experience. None of us were meant to go through that, and it was a devastation that absolutely none of us were prepared for. And all of us did what we had to do in order to survive through that. I bring this up because that was a serious worldwide trauma. I don't think we are going to fully know the exact breadth of all the ways it impacted us in our mental health, our emotional health, our social structures for a long time. I think we are going to be experiencing repercussions for many years to come. And that's not to be negative about all of it, but it is to have a really honest outlook that, hey, this really did impact us. Because something that I have been feeling is that even though the world is opening up again and life is really moving forward, which is a beautiful thing, I feel like I'm still catching up to that. And there is this desire that I have to just want to move forward and put it all behind me. And at the same time, I really have to acknowledge that the last few years were not normal by any means. And that, of course, my energy levels are going to be lower. Of course, I'm going to go towards a state of fear and anxiety as the default, because that's what helped me survive through a horrific global pandemic. I want to share this because I think it's so important that we give ourselves tremendous grace as we all navigate our path forward. I personally am like, I am still really trying to go step by step out of this, and I want to move forward, but there's so much in my body and psyche and emotions that feel like it's dragging me back. And this is really what I have been working through and addressing over the last few months, because I have really been in a deep and oftentimes scary place of really being in a state of existential fear and existential anxiety. I've been really aware of my own mortality and that of my loved ones, and the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. And even though I've had periods of experiencing this in the past, I think it has been intensified by the pandemic. And even though I was feeling a lot of these things through the pandemic, I almost feel like I haven't had a chance to process a lot of it until this year, because what I equate it to is almost like when you are driving and you almost get into an accident and you have enough adrenaline and awareness to swerve and make sure that you're safe. And it's not until you swerve and you're in safety that your whole body is flooded with cortisol and you're just shaking and realizing, oh my gosh, that could have been so much worse. That's how I've been feeling the last few months, where I have felt that I was in a deep state of survival through the pandemic, as all of us were. And I really didn't allow myself to think so much about life after the pandemic or outside of the pandemic. It was like going back to the bare necessities of life. And so fear can be a really incredible and necessary tool because it is what helps us to survive. We all need a healthy dose of fear in order to keep us safe and to protect us. However, I find that fear is worth addressing when the threat has subsided or at least been minimized. There's awareness of how fear has then held us back. And that's what I've been feeling, is that the world is moving forward. We have so many tools now in place to deal with COVID. You know, I got COVID last year and was able to get medication and, you know, was able to recover within a couple weeks. And I'm so grateful for that medicine and for all the people who worked hard to get there. Most of my family has gotten COVID and has been okay. And I know I'm so lucky and grateful for that. And so now I'm realizing, okay, it is safe to move forward. Yes, there's always going to be threats in our life, right? That is part of living. But overall, it's safe to move forward and to live again. But I have not had an easy time in doing that. I have still been feeling a tremendous amount of fear and dread at every single corner. It has not been a fun place to be at all. I don't think any of us were meant to confront mortality and life and death to that extreme for the last few years on such a collective level. That is very hard. That is trauma. There is grief there. So of course we're not going to get over it easily. I wanted to address this big elephant to say, if you've been feeling this too, and if anything I'm saying is resonating with you, I just want you to know that you're not alone in that. You're not alone if you have been still feeling fearful or still feeling anxious or just dreading life in so many words. That's really what the last few years have done. It has made us feel that it's not safe for me to walk outside. It's not safe for me to see my friends. It's not safe for me to see my family. And what a terrible and sad way that we've had to live. So I want to offer a moment of acknowledgement, because I don't think that we've done that enough for ourselves. An acknowledgement that what we have all gone through has been massively difficult, and that if you are here watching this today, you freaking survived that shit, and that was not easy and took a tremendous amount of superhuman strength, and you are a beast for getting through that. That was no easy feat. Keep acknowledging yourself for your strength and the stamina that it has taken to get through this. There are so many aspects of this that I think warrant attention. And one of those pieces is that the pandemic stole a lot from us. For many people, this meant the loss of loved ones. For all of us, it meant the loss of a sense of safety in the world. It meant a loss of security and predictability. Many people lost jobs, lost homes, lost the knowledge that you could just easily go see your family. You know, I live far from my family, so for me, it put me in a place of, oh my gosh, will I see my family again? Fortunately, I was able to make that happen in a safe way. This was a terrifying place to be in. The uncertainty that your family would be okay, that's scary. where I think a lot of grief also comes in is the loss of time. I feel like we almost just time traveled through that period, right? I went into the pandemic as a 26-year-old and now I'm 29, and it's like, where did that time go? The pandemic for me hit at a time where I was really building up socially in the city that I live in and was feeling really confident and enthusiastic and vibrant. And when things shut down, all of that went away. The social connections that I created in my city deteriorated very quickly because they weren't strong enough to withstand that, and the friends I made had moved away. It was really just my husband and we had no family or friends nearby, and thank goodness we have a wonderful relationship that I'm so grateful for every day, but it was lonely and very sad for most of the time, and we did our best, but it was very, very difficult. It's not only a loss of your own time, but for me, I've had a very deep awareness of losing time with my loved ones. I feel very emotional talking about this because there is grief there, and you might feel it too. My first nephew was born in March 2020, about a week after the pandemic was announced, and no one in my family could be there for his birth, to be there in those precious weeks and months after he was born. And my brother and his partner are truly phenomenal parents and have raised this child through tremendous global uncertainty. But with that, there is grief around losing time around life's special moments. And I want to acknowledge that I'm so grateful that the people in my immediate family, as well as my husband's immediate family, are all alive and healthy and well and also survived the pandemic. And I know that's not the case for many people. But there has been a tremendous loss of time that no matter what way you spin it, we're not going to get back. And I want to give space to acknowledge this because I don't see it being acknowledged enough. And I, for one, have felt tremendous pressure to want to move on as though nothing ever happened. And at the same time, I feel great guilt in dwelling on this. But if there's anything that I have learned about dealing with uncomfortable emotions, it is that it's important to feel them. And it is in feeling them that allows us to move forward, because they'll come up in some other way, whether you want them to or not. I have spent a large portion of the last 6 months really processing so much of what has happened, and it has been very difficult. For me, I've had to really take time to journal and to confront these things in order to move forward, and it has not been easy and it has not been comfortable, but it is also what has allowed me to open up again to joy. Over the last 6 months, I have felt just very aware of time passing. And I'm 29, I'm on the brink of 30, and this is a monumental shift for me. I know it's not for everybody, but for me it is. And, it's funny, I always thought, oh, that's so ridiculous that people make such a big deal out of turning 30. You're still young at that time. Why is it a big deal? But I had a moment back home earlier this year with my one of my grandmothers, and we were sitting across the table from each other, and we talked late into the night sharing stories, and she was just sharing beautiful stories about her experience traveling the world with my grandfather. And, my grandfather passed 9 years ago, almost 9 years ago. And when she was traveling in Europe, she was around my age and maybe a little bit older. And I just had this moment where I realized how fast time goes and how fast life can be. Turning 30 brings this more awareness now that I've lived more life and hopefully have a lot more life to live. I felt that, oh my goodness, I can see my entire life laid out before me, and I can see how it can just move in a blink of an eye. This has really shaken me in a lot of ways, and it has also helped me to really be reflective on and honest about what I value in life and what's important to me and what I want to experience in life. I've had to look diligently about how I've been spending my time and energy and money, and really ask myself if those things are aligned with the life that I want to have and the life that I want to create. It's forced me to confront some very difficult things in myself. And I've had to be tremendously kind to myself in this process. But for me, one of the biggest things has been that I've had to confront the pandemic, because through that time I developed habits and actions and modes of thinking and ways of beings in order to survive that no longer serve me, that I no longer want to carry in my life forward. And I don't need to feel guilt about those things, but I need to do my best to change them. So one example of this is the time that I spend on my phone and just scrolling through TikTok or Pinterest or YouTube. I'm no longer on Instagram and Facebook. I got off in 2020. Thank goodness. That's one of the best things I've ever done for my mental health. But I'm still on my phone a lot, and I watch a lot of TV, and I love laying down and watching TV. Now that life is opening again and it's beautiful outside, it's spring, I don't want to be spending my time there anymore, because I want to be creating memories and experiences with my loved ones and for my own life, because at the end of the day, that's what I am going to remember, and that's what I'm going to carry with me to my grave. As dark and morbid as that may sound, having a perspective of life and death, as challenging as it may be, it can also help guide us towards living the life that is truly meaningful and worthwhile. And so I've been slowly but surely working my way towards joy and reclaiming joy in my life and finding enthusiasm again for life. So to do this, for one, I've allowed myself time and space to grieve and to process the uncomfortable emotions around my existence, around mortality, around life and death. And I want to share that if this is the first time you are going through that, lean on support, reach out and find a therapist, a certified mental health professional, or loved ones. This is not an easy thing to do. For me, to move out of that, because what I noticed is that I was in a state of healthy processing that then moved into, okay, this doesn't feel healthy anymore, and I feel like I'm gonna get stuck here if I don't actively start moving away from always dwelling on existence and mortality and death. So a couple things that have helped me has been to do what the Buddhists call cultivating the opposite. And this is exactly what it sounds like, that everything in life needs balance, right? Where there is death, there is also life. Where there is something negative, there's also something positive. So for me, this has meant really diligently and intentionally focusing on life to balance out the contemplations I had been having on mortality and the fleetingness of life and death. What has helped me a lot here has been spending time in nature. I spend time every single day in my backyard watching the birds and squirrels and the trees blooming, and I take time to notice the different flowers and the different plants because life is always moving on. And I think that's something that the natural world can teach us so gracefully and beautifully, that there's a seasonality to these things, right? It's okay to be in a down period, but trust that you will open up again and grow. And sometimes that does take a little extra effort and intention and work, but there is time for expansion and growth and renewal. It's also meant spending time with my loved ones and observing them and their life and really focusing on that. It has also really helped me to lean deeply into gratitude and very intentionally. A lot of us, for our own survival, do have a negativity bias. We are adapted to scan our horizon and our environment for any potential threat and any potential danger in order to survive. So these grooves and these neural pathways are very, very well worn. So we have to be very intentional about focusing on the positive. And this is again going back to this idea of cultivating the opposite. Even though the neural pathways of negativity might be well worn and the grooves might be smooth for your mind to go down, we're also very lucky as humans because we also have something called neuroplasticity, in which our brains are able to change and adapt. And so we can do this by focusing on the positive. I know for me, my mind goes a lot towards worry. I am a huge worrywart. I have been my whole life. I'm a very hypersensitive, anxious being, and that's a very difficult thing most of the time. And I go to worry a lot, especially about the well-being of my loved ones. I worry constantly and incessantly about their safety and their happiness and their health. And of course, this was skyrocketed through the pandemic. And so something I have been doing has been writing down my gratitudes. When I find myself worrying about the well-being of my family, I say, I'm so grateful that they are alive and well and prosperous and doing what they love, and all of these things, just being so grateful for them and their existence. And writing down specifics can be especially helpful. Right? Writing down specific things you're grateful for, what qualities in a person, what actions, and even just their presence in your life, their well-being can do so much. And I really do my best to take time every day to notice what I'm grateful for and write that down as well. Moving on towards some bigger actions that I'm taking. I went to the library the other day and I found this incredible book called The Power of Fun. It's by Catherine Price, and the tagline is how to feel alive again. Because what I was noticing in this state of fear and anxiety and existential dread is that I was really dwelling on the past, that I wasn't only processing, but I had moved into a place where I was really being caught in the past. I was feeling like that was holding me back from looking forward in my life and looking towards things that I was excited about in life again. Again, I think a lot of this just came from habits that were developed and mental perspectives that were developed in the pandemic, where during that time, I was very focused on just surviving each day, and I didn't really allow myself to look forward towards the future because there was so much uncertainty in the future. And naturally, I'm a big dreamer, and this was something that was kind of taken away from me in the pandemic. And so I realized that if I wanted to feel joy again and enthusiasm for life again, I had to get excited about life again. And so for me, that really meant looking at what did I love to do before everything hit? What were the things in my life that brought me joy? Who were the people that I had fun with? What were the experiences that I had fun with that I had been holding myself back from? And this book does a wonderful job of really laying out how to find fun for you. And she makes an amazing case of prioritizing fun and walks you through exercises to identify the situations and activities and people that attract fun for you. I have been doing that. So I've identified, for example, that I love dancing. I've always loved dancing, and I especially love dancing to live music. So something for me is I'm looking for opportunities now to go dancing. And a great example of this is that last weekend I went out with my husband and some friends, and we spontaneously went to a 2000s dance party, and it was a blast. I also have found that I love speaking languages. I studied abroad in Italy and Argentina and have experienced being immersed in speaking Spanish and Italian, and I haven't really used these muscles in a while, but that is something that really brings me joy, and it's a great way that I love to connect with people and different cultures and the world, and even my loved ones who speak Spanish and Italian. And so that's something that I really want to get involved in again. I've also recently tried tennis with my husband, which has been so much fun just to have a new activity together and to try something new. This has been something that I've been really focused on, is prioritizing fun. And this has helped me to really be excited about life again and excited to create new memories with myself, with my loved ones, and in the world. Because during the pandemic, I was just in a constant state of fear and survival. And again, it hasn't just been the pandemic, it's also just been the news cycle of all the horrible things happening. And I just really want to reclaim that fun and excitement. So I highly recommend this book, The Power of Fun. So I would invite you to identify, even if you don't read this book, to identify what were those things that you really enjoyed in your past that you would love to do again. Who was there? What activities were involved? What situations were involved? Were you traveling? Were you at home? Were you with your partner, with your family, with your friends? What new experiences would you like to have? And be creative and contemplate ways that you can integrate those things into your life. I want to close this out by saying that you deserve to experience joy. Joy is yours to reclaim. Fear is loud and persistent and might knock at your every door, but joy is also there. And joy might have a quieter voice. It might need to be invited to your table. It might need to be encouraged to partake in your life. It might need to come along with fear. Joy is also an act of resistance. Fear might help us to survive through life, but joy is what helps us want to actually live our lives. So take time to process what you need to process. Cultivate the opposite by focusing on what you're grateful for and focusing on the beauty and miracle of life. Make time and prioritize fun in your life and identify what those things are for you that bring you great joy and fun, and minimize any type of trigger that might put you back in a state of fear and anxiety. And just give yourself tremendous grace through this process. Reclaiming joy is a lifelong pursuit. Know that whenever you're ready to have it, it is there waiting for you. I'm sending you so much love, and I just honor you for surviving through the last few years and the difficulty that has brought. And I hope that you'll take this journey with me towards joy. Sending so much love. Take care.